Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is I Unreliably Upload and I am sorry. So today I am doing a jaw update because I'm going through a process of having my palettes expanded. And I'm not talking makeup palettes. As much as I would like to expand my makeup palette collection, I've been in treatment for having a too small airway for a year almost. I wanted to start by not contouring or highlighting my face because I wanted you to maybe be able to see a difference from my other videos. My face looks very different to me. These pointy things, the corners of my jaw, they used to be like inside my neck, like I couldn't see them. I had to feel back there to find them, and now they're like out. So that's exciting. I kind of have a chin. But I just wanted to show you what my face looks like without me contouring it, and I know that my cheekbones have gotten significantly more pronounced. So I'm just like dreading editing this because I know how many times I'm gonna say so. I have prepared some notes so that I can hopefully stay a little more focused. I want to start by contouring and highlighting my face, so I'll be right back. I don't even know if I did good on the contour. Didn't bother to do my nose because I know I'll mess it up. First of all, I want to share my sleep study results with y'all so you can see that I've had a major improvement in my sleep apnea. The first sleep study, I had this number, the PAHI number, is how many times per hour I stopped breathing. Minimum oxygen level was 91%, and that's the oxygen in your blood, I think. So I stopped breathing 10 times an hour, which scared the crap out of me because I was like, wow, I'm like gonna die. But that put me at a mild sleep apnea level, in the middle of the mild. So that's terrifying, and I was really glad that I was getting into a treatment that was actually going to help with that problem, and that was last April. So this February, I got another sleep study done. I only stopped breathing 1.8 times during that night, and my lowest oxygen level was 93, which isn't that much better, whatever, but the 1.8 times an hour is significantly better than 10 times an hour. I think that's a really good result after only 6 months in the appliance, and then it puts me on the very lowest end of the sleep apnea chart. I think this is UARS is probably what I would be diagnosed with. That's pretty significant, basically like proving that this device can cure sleep apnea if it's from an airway obstruction. So that's really exciting. I never made a video about all of the changes that were happening when I was going through the first 6 months of treatment. During those first 6 months, I had a very significant change in my appearance. Having cheekbones is really weird because my face was super flat. My regular dentist that doesn't see me about this device, my doctors, everybody that I told about was like, wow, yeah, your face looks a lot less sunken in, a lot less flat. I'm like, yeah, I've been poking my boyfriend with my cheekbones, and when I lay on his chest, it just like pokes into him, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to get used to this. I like how my face looks with more cheekbone. The first 6 months was just a bunch of really happy, positive changes, and I'm really glad for that. And there's like a hair on me, hold on. We're just gonna rip it out. Ow! So my chin started to come forward a little bit, not as much as it is now, but it definitely started to move a little bit more forward so that when I would take a selfie, you know how you take them from a high angle? My chin would just be like, it would look like I was going like this. It was like my face was a normal face, but just like that, which it kind of was and still is. Also, singing became a lot easier slowly over time. It's hard to have consistency in my singing because every day I have a brand new instrument basically to try and sing through. Positioning the air, it's something that you learn over time. It's not like something that you just know how to do immediately, especially if it's different every day. I know what it feels like to sing properly, but sometimes it's really hard for me to find that proper air alignment. Some days I'd have really good days of singing and other days it would just be terrible. It was nice on the good days because I was like, dang, man, my airway has literally just ruined my entire life. Which is really sad to believe, but honestly, it's kind of true. Yes, the reason I haven't filmed was because I've been so depressed, so I'm gonna try to not just complain about my life because my life really isn't that bad. Okay, and then I also obviously noticed I had more tongue space. So when I got out of orthodontist treatment, I actually ended up breaking the clear retainer that they had. I told the orthodontist, dude, obviously you did something wrong because my tongue doesn't fit in my mouth anymore. I can feel my tongue pushing on my teeth and creating this open space right there. but it was much bigger. So I knew back then that my tongue needed more space. And they were just like, no, you're just irresponsible and you should have just worn your retainer more often. And I'm like, you know, you just screwed up my life so much more by removing these 2 teeth and pushing my teeth backwards, which is the exact opposite of what I needed. So thank you very little, and I hope that nobody ever does that again. Please do not get your 2 teeth removed and your teeth pushed back. Don't do it. Get an airway device. I don't know why they ever thought that removing 2 of your teeth and pushing your teeth backwards would ever help anything. Like, where's the tongue gonna go? It's obviously just gonna go backwards into the airway. It seems so logical now, but nobody knew that back then. But people know now, and if they're still trying to remove your teeth, don't let them. Don't do it. I'm telling you, it'll ruin your life. If you don't believe me, then go ahead and do it and see how you feel, because I guarantee you'll be miserable just like I was and am. So anyway, that was just a little rant I had to go on because I don't want anybody to have to spend all that money on orthodontists, first of all, and second of all, go through all of the symptoms that I've had and not realize why it's happening. So I maxed out the first device and they were like, all right, time to get a new one. We went and did the molds for the new device, and then the virus happened and I was not able to show up to get my device for like maybe a month or 2. It was really frustrating because I was without the device. They had me in retainers. I don't know why I didn't wear them. So I lost a lot of progress, honestly, during that time. I had a lot of space growing like in between where those 2 teeth were that the orthodontist took out. I lost all of that space. I think it's mostly because I have bad tongue posture, because I feel like a retainer can't really just hold something forward if it just doesn't want to be forward. That was really disheartening, waiting so long to get the device and losing progress at the same time. Positive things about being in retainers and not really making any progress was that I could get used to my instrument slash airway slash singing. So my singing was like super good for a couple of months and it was really nice. I feel like I'm not even halfway done with this process yet, honestly, because I had such a severely small airway to begin with. And I know that some people's is even more severe, but mine's on the pretty severe scale of the severity of my life is a mess. I don't know. It's been a long time since I filmed. This is the second time I've put on a full face of makeup in like 6 months. So I got my new device in May. I guess I missed 4 months of treatment. So technically this is my 8th month of treatment. So it's technically not been a year because I missed 4 months. I need to remember that. So when will it be a year? So, wait, it was 7 months, 8. I don't know how to do math. I don't know when it's gonna be a year. Oh, man, so I'm gonna show you the new device. It is a different device. The first one I had was called the DNA, and I used rubber bands to try and pull my lower jaw forward while I slept to keep my tongue as far out of my airway as it could be. But the rubber bands didn't really work because my jaw was just like, nah, I'm gonna stay back here. So the mRNA is a device that has these, okay, so here, I'll show it. This is the bottom part of the device, and it has these little like, what are those called? They're just like metal loops. So this is where your teeth go inside, right here, and that goes in the bottom. And then those little pokey things, whatever, I always call them pokey things, go along with this top piece. So you can see it has little wings on it. Those metal things hit those wings so that your lower jaw can't go any further back than those wings will let it. It's definitely been an adjustment for the inside of my mouth. My cheeks have been getting poked a lot. I only wear the bottom piece at night, so I like that a lot better than wearing both of them all the time. It feels more sturdy than the last one and just nicer, but maybe it's because the last one was just on its last leg. You know, I used it all up, and this one's brand new. So that's what the new device is. It's going pretty well. I guess after the 6-month mark, it's been a little bit different of a journey than the first 6 months. It's been a lot more painful. The reason I think why is because I have a crossbite. You can see my teeth go that way, and it used to be a lot worse. It was like that, so my jaw's always like jutted that way. And this device, if you try to jut your jaw either way, you can't. It keeps the jaw in a perfectly straight place, which is not where it usually is. It's been keeping it like this while I sleep. I believe that that caused my jaw muscles to have a little bit of a freak out because they're like, excuse me, I'm used to being in this position and now you're putting me in this position whenever you're sleeping, and then I'm going back to this position when we're not sleeping, and I'm kind of freaking out. It was these muscles right here on temples. You can't really feel them in most people, but mine are very inflamed. They're just constantly trying to find a bite that fits. fits, and it never does because my teeth don't fit together. My jaw is constantly just like searching for a place to bite or clenching. I've massaged them and I've tried using ice on them, which seems to help a lot. And I'm sorry, I'm cracking my knuckles, so that's also a thing. I feel like everything in my entire life that's wrong is caused by my airway problem. I really hope that's true, honestly, because then it'll all be fixed. Updates about now. So I have a couple of pictures that I'll throw up. That sounds weird. I have a couple pictures that I'll put on the screen now. So there's a side profile of me when I first began and of me pretty recently. And there's a pretty significant change. You can see in the second picture how I'm not lifting my head up or pushing it forward. It's just kind of like my neck is pretty straight and my chin is kind of like at a normal resting position. That's a really positive change. Although I'm still struggling like in daily life to actually have good posture. I look like a slouched ass person and it's embarrassing because I've always been somebody that really strives to have good posture. I really appreciate having good posture, and the fact that I can't is extremely depressing. And that's just one of many things that are hurting me right now. So the headache started happening a couple days after I got the device, a severe headache for like 3 or 4 days, and then the headache went away. It comes back all the time. It usually lasts for a couple days and then it just goes away on its own. My neck pain has significantly increased. My head is starting to go back into a more healthy position and my neck is just like, excuse me, but we're not used to this position of your head. So like the muscles are kind of freaking out. I also noticed that my open bite is starting to close. You can see that used to be a lot bigger. And then also when I'm like this, I can almost touch my teeth to each other. I'm really excited for the day when it finally just closes, because then hopefully I'll be able to eat for once without dropping food everywhere, having to use my fingers to help it or my tongue to bite through something. But with all of that changing, sometimes I've noticed I'll like have a lisp, or I'll just like squeak my S's, you know, where you're like, that's kind of embarrassing that I can't control what kind of S comes out of my mouth. I was hoping that there would just be like a marked improvement in my singing the whole time, like it would just be a trajectory like that, but it has not been like that. Sometimes it's really good, most of the time it's really bad. That's kind of why I stopped doing the cover songs, and I am sad because I said I was gonna do 100 days of singing and I did like 10, maybe, but it's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. The problem is that my airway is not big enough to resonate when I sing. So I still have to do this when I'm singing because everything in my entire area just isn't big enough, and I don't want to sing out of my nose anymore. I've been doing it my whole life and I'm sick of it, and I just want to sing like a normal person with a healthy singing cavity. Yeah, I've kind of already been throwing all of my complaints in here, but this section, at least of the healing journey, is honestly kind of depressing for me. It's just a long process, and I have not been wearing the device as much throughout each day as I would like to be, so the progress is a little slower as well. Movements are so small that it's hard to see how far you've come. It's actually been a really good improvement. My lower jaw has come forward so much more than it had in the first 6 months. That's awesome. I need to focus on the positive things instead of going on and on about it being bad. But then the other part that's really depressing is how expensive this is, because insurance really doesn't help with almost anything. They paid like $700 out of $8,500 just for the device, and that doesn't include travel time because my dentist that does this is 3 hours away, and all the other expenses that are associated with this, such as myofunctional therapy, chiropractor, tongue tie release. So it's just a never-ending supply of things that I have to pay for. And I'm already in a pretty significant amount of debt from all of this and the stuff that I had paid for before all of this. I'm gonna end the rant about everything. No, I'm not. I'm gonna rant later again too, but but I have had a lot of progress. I just have a lot of progress left. I just wanted to, have a healthy airway and see what my life could really be like once I have all of my body's full potential health happening. I feel like I'm just gonna be so much happier and so much more energetic, so much less ADD. It'll just be so much easier to be alive. But I just wanted it now, and it's not time for that yet. So I wanted to start by talking about the chiropractor that they recommended. I don't have that much information about it, but they're called an Atlas orthodontist. orthodontist chiropractor, something like that. I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't know what the orthodontist part, I don't know if that's right, but an atlas chiropractor, which is the atlas bone is the very top bone of your spine. It connects your head to your spine. Apparently, if it's not correctly, perfectly where it's supposed to be, then it will mess up the rest of your back and the rest of your entire body, because your back is like the backbone of your body, literally. So if your back's messed up, then the rest of your body will be messed up. My body is crooked. Like one of my shoulders is higher than the other one. I think this one's higher, it feels like. But yeah, my body is just effed. This adjustment, when you get the atlas bone in the correct place, then you can fully heal, or at least be helped in the healing of your full body. So that's all I really know about it. So my dentist told me that the next step is he thinks that I am ready to have the tongue tie released. I don't know if I've ever talked about the tongue tie that much, but that's basically what caused all of my problems to begin with. We need to do myofunctional therapy for 4 to 6 weeks before the tongue tie release and after. And myofunctional therapy is kind of like mewing. You just learn how to use your tongue muscles and separate your tongue's movement from the lower jaw movement, and learning how to breathe out of your nose. It's just a whole health thing. Basically, doing myofunctional therapy will ensure that the tongue tie does not reattach, and also that all of the results and progress that you're getting from the expansion will not be lost, because you will know how to have good tongue posture and the tongue will hold everything where it's supposed to be. I found out that, well, I knew this, but they told me that it wasn't that severe that I had these, but I have lip ties as well. So that's where your lip is like connected to your gums with a little line. I just don't want to show you because it'll ruin my lipstick and it'll get lipstick all over my face, and I'm just not in the mood. So I have that on both the top and the bottom. That causes it to be very difficult for me to close my lips together. Then the tongue tie, of course, is just another... I'm just so angry that I was not treated for this when I was a baby, because they could have just sliced it off and everything would have been fine. I mean, maybe the reason that I had to go through all of this is so that I could help somebody else learn and fix themselves. But it just makes me mad that we even have to do that. Why couldn't we just know back then? Or I bet they did, and they just don't check people for it because they just don't care and they want everyone to be miserable. So everyone has to buy all these medications and be miserable for their whole lives, work in a slave system, and never actually do anything of value because they're so sick and miserable all the time. This video is not a happy, positive video, so I'm sorry. I try to make like happy, positive videos on my channel, but this is why I haven't been filming, because my life has been just a lot of that. Bad attitude. I've had a bad attitude for a long time, and I am working on it. I'm trying to work on it. So, myofunctional therapy. I had a video session. I don't know what they're called. A telehealth visit. It was a consultation. We basically talked about everything that can be affected by not being able to breathe. Basically, my tongue tie was the source of all of my problems because I was not able to breastfeed when I was a kid. Apparently, breastfeeding is a really important part of developing your airway properly as a baby, which I didn't know. And I don't have any research to back that up. That's just what the lady said. And then obviously it affects breathing because your tongue is permanently attached to the lower jaw, and the tongue is forced to be wherever the lower jaw happens to be. It makes it hard for your tongue to go onto the roof of your mouth where it's supposed to be. So the cheeks and the tongue balance the position of the upper teeth. So when the tongue isn't there, the cheeks win and they just push them in. So it gets really skinny. That causes the lower jaw to get pushed backwards because it is being blocked by how small the upper jaw is. Therefore, the tongue tie holds onto the tongue and pushes that backwards too, which causes it to be in the airway. Also, the tongue tie is part of the fascia system, and I will put a picture of the fascia up on the screen. It goes all the way from your tongue down to your feet, and the myotherapist said it was like a second skin inside of our body. It's very important to our overall health. When the tongue has a tongue tie, it is pulling on all of the other fascia, so people have a lot of different weird symptoms that may seem unrelated to a tongue problem, but it's actually been shown that when people have these tongue tie is released, that some of those things that didn't seem related completely clear up. People will get really tight shoulders and a really tight neck when they have a tongue tie, which I definitely have and have always had in my entire life. I thought I was just a tense person, but apparently it's from the tongue tie. She said that sometimes people will get it released and immediately so much relief, and I'm just like, I need to have that right now because I'm in so much pain. It just, So having a tongue tie, and because I also had the lip ties, my mouth would just hang open all the time. It was hard to breathe out of my nose because as I grew, my palate became narrower. So it's normally like, these are the teeth and this is the palate. So the teeth are like wide, but as they get smaller, the palate goes up like that. So the smaller that the upper palate is, the higher the palate is, therefore cutting into the nasal cavities, which makes it a lot harder to breathe out of your nose and somehow causes allergies because because mouth breathing takes away our ability to get nitrous oxide. Is that what it's called? Yeah, nitrous oxide, which is a filtration system that our nose produces when we breathe in and out of our nose. I'll talk about that in a minute because there's a lot about that. So allergies are basically just the body's response to a lot of pollen or a lot of things in the air that are being inhaled without the filtration system, like through the mouth, then it gets into the lungs. The body just is trying to get rid of it. So it has the histamine response, which causes all of the extra mucus and everything, which also causes you to not be able to breathe out of your nose. It's just a never-ending terrible cycle. The other thing is that when you breathe out of your mouth, it's not filtering the air. What happens is a lot of people have their adenoids or their tonsils removed because adenoids and the tonsils are trying to act as if they are a filter for our breathing because we're breathing in like cold, dirty air. Here I am just talking about it as I'm breathing out of my mouth, but what are you gonna do? So people will get their adenoids or tonsils removed because they go crazy trying to do the job of the nose. The most important thing for the body, the body's survival, is breathing. If you can't breathe, then you're not sleeping properly and your life sucks. That's literally, if you're not breathing, bad breathing leads to a bad life. It's just how it is, because if you can't breathe, that's all your body is going to try to do. It's constantly just going to be like, I can't breathe, I have to do something to be able to breathe, I have to compensate, I have to figure this out, instead of doing normal processes that keep us healthy. If you're not breathing properly while you're sleeping and your body is not able to have a healing process, which it would do normally, it can cause injuries or cause everything to be a little bit weaker in the physical body because you're not actually having that healing. So I think that explains a lot of injuries that I continuously have while running, or the ankle pain that I still have after 2 years, since it's actually been 4 years since I injured my ankle. So nitrous oxide is some kind of chemical, NO, in our bodies that is mostly found, I think 30,000 parts per million in the nose. When you inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose slowly, you absorb the nitrous oxide into your lungs and filters out bacteria, increases oxygen in the blood, and it also works as a natural expander of your nasal passages. So there's like an exercise she taught me to immediately increase my ability to breathe out of my nose, and it's because of the nitrous oxide. It also lowers blood pressure because if you're getting a lot of nitrous oxide, that means you're breathing properly, which is to breathe slowly. That helps as much of it get into the body as possible. You feel more relaxed and you're breathing out of your lower lungs instead of just like Also, it decreases inflammation. Therefore, asthma can be caused by not having enough nitrous oxide in your lungs, because without those anti-inflammatory benefits, then everything is inflamed, and that's what asthma is inflammation of the airway. I believe that will be completely gone after I finish this treatment too. There's just so much. Breathing out of your nose is like the most important thing for our health and having a proper airway. It makes me really upset that no doctors really know that or care, and that they're not taught to. So hopefully that can change soon. Nitrous oxide increases the oxygen levels in the blood and in the body in general, and when you don't have enough of it, it can cause lack of oxygen in the brain, which can cause ADHD, which I most definitely have. So that's interesting. Also, not having enough oxygen can cause headaches. So maybe that's part of the cause of my headaches. She explained it as like when people go to a higher altitude, they sometimes get headaches because there's less oxygen in the air. I don't really know why it causes a headache, but it does. So that's cool. I mean, it's not cool. Okay, and then the biggest thing that I'm really excited about is that my under eye circles can go away for sure. I found out that the reason I have under eye circles, which you can still see even though I covered them with a lot of makeup, is It's called venous pooling. It's not Venus like the planet, it's Venus like vein. Venous pooling of the inferior orbital vein, and it's basically drainage of deoxygenated blood. If I had more oxygen in my blood, then I would have less drainage of the deoxygenated blood because there would be more oxygenated blood. And then as I get a better structure of my face, it'll have more room to drain too. It's both of those combined. It's like the breathing and the space. And when you breathe through your mouth, you're getting less oxygen. You feel like you have to breathe more and harder and just like sound like you're out of breath all the time. And so if you were a mouth breather as a child like I was, and then you eventually learn how to breathe out of your nose, the way that you breathe out of your nose is trying to get as much oxygen as you possibly can. So it's just like loud and kind of intense breathing. That's actually getting less oxygen too, because you get more nitrous oxide when you breathe slowly. Breathing fast like that causes the body to think it's in fight or flight mode and release cortisol. And if you breathe through your mouth, it releases cortisol as well. When you're not getting enough oxygen, it releases cortisol. So every time that I take a breath that's not a good breath, quote unquote, my body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, which causes me to have fidgets or crack my knuckles or touch my face or bite my nails. So like all of these little tics that people have are probably because they're releasing too much cortisol because they're not getting enough oxygen and their body is just in survival mode because it's like, I can't breathe. Give me more energy to like try and get out of this dangerous situation so that I can breathe again. The last thing I want to talk about, my septum in my nose is quote unquote deviated, but it's not. It's actually straight until the very end and then it has a kink in it. The myofunctional therapist helped me see that. My assumption was somewhat correct. I assumed that it's because everything is pushed backwards and my nose has enough cartilage to have where my face was supposed to be. Once everything moves forward, then the nose will be able to stretch out to its proper position and the kink will go away. And she said that it has to do with forward movement and also expansion, because as you expand out laterally, the thing comes down, your sinus, the floor of your sinuses comes down because your palate top is the bottom of your sinuses, so that comes down. But if it's up like this, then it's pushing and kinking. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. I looked at my airway from when I first started the treatment, or before I started the treatment, and it was 26 millimeters squared of volume in my entire like pharyngeal airway, and a normal one is like 150. So I have less than a quarter of the space that I need in my airway, or I did. I don't know what it is now. I need to be patient because it's gonna take a while for me to get to the point of having a healthy airway. And if you're going through this, then I hope you can relate to some of this and I hope maybe you learned something and hopefully it wasn't too depressing or like angry. Yeah, I wanted to just post this because I saw a couple people asking for an update. I was ready to update y'all. I'm just not in a very good mental space. It's probably not as entertaining as the other ones, but hopefully I'll be happy again someday and I can make YouTube videos regularly again, which I love. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Oh wait, I wanted to also show y'all the little, no, it doesn't matter. All right, bye.